Melbourne Puma against the Queensland Mac Attacks, and some late and disconcerting news for Melbourne, Anne.
Yes, Janine Lynch, one of their key defenders and recently announced Norwich Netballer of the Year, has had recent scaphoid surgery, and that hand injury is going to stop her playing with this match and probably for the next few weeks. Susie Howie also out with ankle surgery, so a couple of their young stars not available. A wealth of talent otherwise, though.
And for Queensland?
Well, the Mac Attacks, as they're now known, they're bringing back players that have been married in the off-season. Melissa McDonald now married as Gorringe, Kylie Brudeau at the back line, and Janelle Peterson out of retirement. She assures us it's not a comeback, but she certainly is a former Australian mid-quarter, so she adds a wealth of experience and speed to their middle.
A look at Melbourne reveals that Norma Plummer can field the core of the team which won the Nationals at this venue last October when Eloise Southby really caught the eye as a top draw goaler. She works in well with Danny Arnott, and you'd have trouble going past this mid-court of Michelle Bennison, Ingrid Dick and Simone McInnes. No Janine Lynch, as we've mentioned, and so helping out Liz Taverner at the back will be Rosie Jenke. The Melbourne skipper is Simone McInnes, who has played in 2 World Championship winning sides in 91 and 95 and can still lay claim in the eyes of most as the finest wing defence in the game. She hit the big 3-0 late last year, but there's no sign of her getting softer or slower. For Queensland, their focus in attack will be the tallest player in the competition, in Michelle Tolanair, who stands a handy 194 centimetres. They've imported well, drafting in Victorian Peter Kennedy, but the big question will be asked of their mid-court and whether they can penetrate the circle through Janelle Peterson and Melissa Gorringe. Queensland coach is Paddy Farrell. Well, if she gets her share of possession, expect some fine shooting from skipper Amanda van der Waal, who holds the record for consecutive goals in a MOBIL League match. She's a graduate of the Institute program and has the task of steering her team away from the bottom of the table where they finished last year. Ingrid Dick gets us underway. Simone McInnes and Bennison, Arnott, Southby. Southby, just looking through her stats from last year, 79% for the season. And she's 100% so far. Really an emerging talent, Eloise Southby, and works well with Danny Arnott, who shot 68% for the season last year.
Well, she's been quickly put under increasing pressure, Southby. Member of the Australian 21s last year, stepped out on main court Nationals in the open side, didn't miss a beat. National League last year, same story.
Gorringe, Peterson.
Now, Nellie Peterson's really conscious of the fact we're not distressed she's making a comeback. She's just out there having returned as a former Australian player. So we've done our bit now.
I have to say the Melbourne Puma uniforms are really smart. They've got the bibs with the pattern of the top across it so that the bibs really sit nicely on the uniform.
Interesting that Melbourne elect still to play with the more traditional style of netball skirt. Become their trademark. Oh, nice drive from Ingrid Dick to the circle.
Keep the pleat makers in business, eh?
Pleat upon pleat upon pleat. Southby just so solid, steady as a rock. She's open with 3 straight, not phased.
Annette Smith and Maureen Boyle, our umpires for this match.
Goal circle.
Chris Burton will shoot me, but we'll say Annette Smith from Queensland, Maureen Boyle from New South Wales, the national pool of umpires. Totally unbiased.
They do have homes, though, don't they?
They do. I mean, they do live somewhere.
That's your point. Chris, I asked him not to make reference to that, but
they don't just float around in some umpire's ether, you know. They do. They do have homes to go to.
Although they're not in them very often, we should point out.
Southby for number 5.
And what composure from Melbourne Puma. I mean, they've got 2 key players on the bench, but every time they've stepped out in the last 9 months or so, absolute composure.
Van der Waal, robbed by McInnes. They've barely even got it at the top of the circle so far, Queensland, in attack.
That's the exciting thing. Melbourne's so young down the court, but very strong, and the timing is as you would expect from a much more senior team.
Yes, Ingrid Dick, Liz Taverner, Michelle Bennison, Danny Arnott and Southby all with many, many years of netball ahead of them.
Both out, a distraction.
I don't know that we can say the same about Rosie Jenke and Simone McInnes, but...
Oh, you're brave. I think Simone McInnes has got many years ahead of her. Rosie Jenke, of course, very well-respected former Australian defender, suffered with back problems towards the latter part of her career, and with Lynch on the sideline, she's got her chance to contribute to the Melbourne Puma machine. And a machine it is.
Southby won't shoot from out there.
Offside.
Well, she's got to be guarded. She's on 100%. 6 from 6. 7 straight.
This is an embarrassing start for Queensland, I have to say. I mean, Melbourne are good and they are at home.
Queensland, of course, with a new coach in Paddy Farrell, and it's hardly the start you'd want as coach sitting on the bench watching your Chargers in their opening match.
Southby.
Then again, the Melbourne crowd didn't come to see Queensland win.
Breaking, free pass Melbourne.
A couple of very tall shooters out there. Southby at 187, Tolanair 194.
Yeah, Rosie Jenke giving away considerable height. I'm just looking, she comes up, oh, just about to Tolanair's mouth. Got a good jump, though.
Kennedy gets in the way. Should know a little bit about the way the Melbourne players go about their business. Snaffled by Taverner.
Oh, they're really putting it on for the crowd. How comfortable would Norma Plummer be feeling? 9-goal lead. Queensland yet to score. And it's just all heading towards the right of screen, isn't it?
Going to get sore necks looking that way. So Norma Plummer would not be happier, though, about the two players sitting beside her out of action. Janine Lynch and Susie Howie, look, any club would love to have them. Janine Lynch, left arm in the sling. She's had the scaphoid in the wrist pinned. And Susie Howie has had ankle surgery recently and won't be back into full training for 3 or 4 weeks. And she has the World Youth Cup to consider. She says she's going to be very busy with rehab. Tolanair, can she get Queensland on the board? She can, but it's taken 6 minutes. Ingrid Dick, Michelle Bennison.
Just wondering whether those lollipops were part of the Bandage Bear Twins rehab.
Well, they are now. Really, it's been a big 10 days or so for this club, with Janine Lynch being named Norwich Player of the Year for 95, picking up $5,000 and then some, because it's already been invested for her. And Liz Taverner.
Yeah, she's picked up the Minister for Sports Scholarship. That's to assist her with her studies in a business degree, focusing on sports management. That was announced earlier in the week at the Prime Ministerial Awards. At the former Prime Ministerial Award.
Manage contact shooter.
But certainly the two defenders for Melbourne getting Melbourne off to an early lead in the competition. Headlines galore.
Contact, goal defense.
Rightly so, they're one of the most exciting defensive combinations in Australia at the moment.
That had a look and dropped 13-1.
There was some talk that it was rumoured that Queensland were sussing out the possibility of Irene van Dijk sitting in as their import.
Imagine if you had Irene and Tolanair.
Tall stuff, neat step ladders.
Yeah, well, neither of them plays much at goal attack, though, I don't think.
Would have been as much an entrepreneurial move as an effective one. I think the point's taken, though. They need more to plug the defence end of the court than bring out a high-profile shooter. And, of course, they tried that a couple of years ago with Patricia McDonald, their Jamaican import, who was certainly loved by the crowds and added something to the competition, but they just couldn't make good use of her.
In view of their current sponsor, she'd have created some interesting marketing possibilities.
Well, of course, Melissa McDonald is now Melissa Gorringe. I think that was rather unkind of her to sacrifice the sponsor's name.
Tolanair could only keep it in for Rosie Jenke's advantage. Benison. Out comes Garrett. Oh. Everyone's all right.
Arnott back on track. She'd had 3 misses in a row. That's the 6th shot. Just a bit of body blow at the top of the circle. Arnott comes to grief. Kylie Garrett really riding the back of Eloise Southby, and she draws contact penalty for too close attention.
Gorringe, Kennedy, Peterson, Vanderwall.
Kennedy offering a lot of drive to Queensland through the midcourt. It's just the connection that's not quite there, but she certainly is contributing drive down court through the middle. Hands from Peterson, but an obstruction ruling within 3 feet.
You have to arrive a little earlier at Simone McInnes to take the ball from her. Slapped away by Leanne Matthews.
Contacting keeper, pass or shot.
Garrett attracting deal of whistle from Maureen Boyle. Need to adjust.
Last minute, first quarter. And just the start that the folks coming to the Waverley Netball Centre were hoping for. Their side doing the job on Queensland.
Nice timing on the support move from Eloise Southby. And she continues perfect form, 13 straight.
Parking's a bit of a premium here tonight. We've had a softball international series happening next door. Great ball from McInnes to Taverner, and on it comes Southby.
Inside, pass or shot.
Garrett had position for the rebound, but there'll be no more play. In this quarter, a quarter well dominated by Melbourne Puma, leading Queensland Mac Attacks 19-6. So Ingrid Dick gets Melbourne going once more. Southby, who had a great first quarter.
Great's the word. 13 from 14, and she just missed that 1 goal right near the end of the quarter, 92%, so a tremendous start from her. 6 from 9 for Arnott at 66%. There's more accuracy in her. Mac Attacks, though, very little possession, only 12 attempts. 3 from 7 for Tollenaire at 42%, and that's pretty shaky. 60% for Vanderwall.
So Melbourne offering up 23 shots to Queensland's 12. Melbourne converting 19 out of 23, 6 out of 12 for Queensland. They don't make very good reading, those stats, if you're on the Queensland bench.
Contact shooter.
Jenke, Taverner.
Obstruction goal attack. Advantage offside centre. Contact goal defence. Penalty pass or shot. Top. Yes.
The clock in the venue isn't working, and neither is the scoreboard. So 21-6 is right. We've got our own scorers on the job, but things have frozen up on the scoreboard.
Well, plenty of space there behind Peter Kennedy. She charged in for the front move.
Melbourne.
Arnott just pulling off a bit of the pressure and finding back space.
There's the malfunctioning or non-functioning, I guess, scoreboard. They've already had the inquiry from Amanda Vanderwall of umpire Maureen Boyle about what was going on, and Maureen's shorter. She'll keep her in touch with the story, at least as far as the time goes. I think Amanda will have a fair idea of the way the scoring is going.
Maybe Amanda would like to change the score altogether. That's a heavy fall.
That was a bad one for Tollenaire. Did not like the look of that as it happened. I think she's going to be all right, but...
We're looking for the back. Tollenaire sandwich between Taverner and Jenke.
Looks like Tollenaire is going to be all right. She's just testing the shooting action.
On. time.
She's used her a lot of time.
That's not the ball. Where'd the match ball go?
Maureen Boyle, quick off the
Match
mark.
ball?
It's not the match ball, she said. And how they disposed of one and put the other out, I'm not quite sure.
Back where she... Okay, on the whistle.
Okay, we're back in business. And so are Queensland.
Alvin!
Benison. Ingrid Dick looks and finds Danny Arnott.
More comfortable shot from Danny Arnott. That's her third for the second quarter.
Advantage breaking wing attack.
Tolanair open at the top.
Goal attack obstruction.
So a happy time in goals for Queensland. I guess it's not really happening anywhere on court for them, but you'd like to think the opportunities you get down there you can put on the board.
Contacting goalkeeper, pass or shot.
Use of the elbow against Carly Garrett. Tell you what, have we had a few marriages in the off-season? You and I are really struggling, aren't we?
She was Carly Prideaux.
Far side. Yes.
There's contacts and Sydney
Synovus.
Synovus that really had us scratching.
Play.
Just about half a dozen between them. Name changes.
Oh, how does McInnes keep balls like that in play? She's usually around the circle tiptoeing and hauling them in. That one, pinpoint accuracy again. Either she's got the tiniest feet in sport or she's extremely clever.
Disc breaks. Peterson. Van der Waal. Peterson works the corner, but McInnes is there.
That's just another example, though, of how superb Simone McInnes is as a wing defence. She absolutely knew the curve of that circle, the timing on the move.
Contact against Tolanair, so Jenke.
I think Jenke is enjoying this outing.
Yep, unexpected, but welcome.
Oh,
Ooh.
that one too tall. Tolanair tries to back into Jenke's space, trying to get herself out from under the post.
3-to-1 scoring ratio for Melbourne, and a minute and a half out from half-time.
Van der Waal stumbling with the injury. It's a stepping call because no time was called before she infringed with feet. So unlucky. She's limping in back play. Has an ankle strap. Left ankle is strapped anyway. You see that quite clearly.
So she might seek a little attention at half-time for that ankle.
I think they'd all like a little bit of attention. The heads are down for Queensland.
A bit of TLC when it's all over. Benison.
She got up there, didn't she? Looked like it might have had a little bit too much on it.
Garrett. Kennedy. Another leaping touch from Benison. I wonder if there've got to be some changes from Queensland coach Paddy Farrell at half-time. We'll wait to see what she's come up with, but certainly got to do something about addressing what at this stage is a very one-sided contest. Van der Waal gets it in just in time, but nevertheless it looks pretty ominous for Queensland, and Melbourne lead it at half-time, 37-13.
I really enjoyed continuing on after playing and still being involved in the netball, but in such a different way. It's so totally different being on the end of the whistle compared to being on the court and actually playing.
Tracy Liso, the new setter for Queensland, gets us going in the third.
And Melbourne Puma, again, through Eloise Southby, 15 from 17. She's in fine form for their opening match, 88%. As we said, a quieter Danny Arnott than we're used to, only 33%. And she's normally up there right with Southby in the 80s. The Mac attacks through Tolinair, 3 from 5 at 60%, 4 from 6 for Amanda van der Waal at 66. They'd love far more possession, and they'd love those to be in the 80s as well.
Well, possession has to be the big thing that's hurting Queensland. They had 7 opportunities in that second quarter to, sorry, 11 opportunities to 26 from Melbourne. They lost the quarter 18-7. Jocelyn Bryant into the game. Van der Waal.
Jenke doing well to keep Tolinair controlled at the top of the circle and really forcing play outside the circle. Shaky take there from Tolinair. She's in the wars.
Yes, a sore elbow after the fall. Ice pack on the neck during the break.
Another great ball then from McInnes directly to the circle, found Southby. There's Tolinair receiving some attention to the neck in the quarter break.
While we had our eyes on her, didn't actually see whether Amanda van der Waal was getting her ankle attended to. We thought that might have been on the cards as well, but Tolinair really knows she's been in a match tonight.
Don't you feel the bumps more when you're trailing by 20-odd goals?
Well, she's probably pleased this isn't June or July in Melbourne. When, when it's colder, you feel it too.
Benison trying to shake off some space for Southby. Finds her and she's on target, finds net. Oh, well read by Tracy Liso. They've got the numbers. Tolinair tries to wipe Jenke away from the shot. Good play from Queensland. And put this down to Tracy Liso, who reads it well and goes on with it. Peterson looking for Tolinair. She draws some space, puts it through.
Taverner, Benison, Jocelyn Bryant.
Advantage offside.
Well, they swung play to find Southby. She came off her hold. The move comes finally from Bryant.
Garrett came out for the miss and made the shot a comfortable one. 52-23, 2:40 to three-quarter time. There's some smiles on court from Ingrid Dick and Michelle Benison. A misunderstanding there that, well, it finally resulted in a turnover. I don't think the coach saw it as being quite that amusing. But you hope that the players enjoy it out there, don't you, Ed?
Absolutely.
Better, I suppose, that they're smiling about a mistake when they're 30 up than 30 down.
Oh,
Ouch.
and Peterson looks like she's in bother.
She's strained a calf there. Knee. Don't know. Sit down. Julie Willems. It's a cramp, is it?
Well, the reaction was immediate. Cramp or... I'm the same as you. Cramp.
You ring your husband, I'll ask my brother. Get a couple of physios on the job. But they haven't had a good match as far as injuries go. Van der Waal gave the ankle a turn. Tolinair's been in all sorts of bother. They really can't afford to have Peterson leave the court. Her experience invaluable, and bringing the side home, even if it's looking like a loss.
Well, far better outcome. It looked initially like she might have torn the calf or Achilles trouble, and much better a cramp.
Benison.
Once again, the patient Melbourne attack line swings it around, waiting for the break. Doesn't come their way then. Liso on the charge.
Genki on the stretch. Southby out.
Where is it?
Got it. Benison finds it first.
Pass or shot. Melbourne.
Still the lead hovering around 30 with a minute left in this quarter.
That was Southby's first miss of the quarter, sitting on 8 straight.
Game's lost a little momentum in the last couple of minutes since that injury to Peterson.
Recovery from Southby, 9th for the quarter.
The players may be a little tired as we get towards the end of the third quarter. Looking forward to the couple of minutes break, perhaps. Hasn't been the best netball of the match, the last minute or two. Van der Waal.
Queensland. Where you are. Bye. Contact keeper, pass or shot.
Little contact scene in there from Genki. Now the shot from Van der Waal.
Contact, goal defence, pass or shot. Queensland.
And they may well have got the last of the quarter because the timekeeper's out of a chair. Tollineer put it up quickly because she saw what was coming, and that's three-quarter time. But the lead, indeed, is 30. Norma Plummer quickly out of a chair. She should be happy. 54-24, Melbourne lead it. Melbourne looking to take it home. What will they turn this 30-goal lead into? Well, they just won the third quarter by 17 goals to 11.
And look at the stats for Melbourne. 90% for Southby. Jocelyn Bryant entering the game with an 80%, 8 from 10, so should be very pleased with her introduction. And also Michelle Tollineer for the Queensland Mac Attack. She's really lifted in the third period. 10 from 12 at 83%. They're still not finding it through their goal attack. And skipper Amanda Van der Waal, only 25%, 1 from 4. But certainly the possession more balanced in that third quarter.
Just working through the changes made by the coaches. Taverner and Genki in defence for Melbourne have swapped bibs. So Genki goal defence, Taverner to goalkeeper. Vegan Flyner indeed on at wing attack. Michelle Benison gets the rest. And Melissa Gorringe back on for Janelle Peterson at wing attack. Peterson, we saw, suffered some kind of lower leg injury. And better to rest her. Nothing but net. Van der Waal, Gorringe, and Liso. Hell ball, says Maureen Boyle.
That's throwing yourself into your work and absolutely against the rules. There's more enthusiasm and knowledge. You're nearly in the game again.
Southby at the bottom of the ruck, I think.
Yeah.
Came up with a smile and the penalty against.
Well, I was watching a scramble, but I thought, no, she won't throw herself on it. She did. Danny Arnott receiving some treatment on, looks to be a thumb, on her shooting arm. She doesn't look all that comfortable.
I think Danny's left hand, isn't she? That's a right hand.
Oh, right hand.
Gotcha.
Got me.
Matthews looking for Liso, intercepted by Bryant. McInnes.
Well, Southby putting on the dodges under the post, just trying to work a 1-2-3 move dodge. They didn't use her anyway.
Liso and Gorringe. Queensland slow to get started in this last quarter. No goals in the first 3 minutes. 5 for Melbourne.
Wing defence.
Van der Waal asking that it be delivered over the top. Couldn't handle, though.
Contact goal attack.
Even in a match like this, Anne, where it's pretty much decided at three-quarter time, it's important that teams learn how to finish strongly, isn't it? Because in another match where the last quarter can be crucial, if you've been taking it easy in the in the previous 2 matches, it's not a good discipline.
No, you certainly don't want to get into the habit of affording lapses in concentration, and Norma Plummer would be putting that to her side. Ball-to-ball concentration, go on with it.
Taverner back out to Liso. Sorry, Tolanair back out to Liso.
Go in, Queensland.
Taverner's at the other end of the court.
Play.
Well, no, she's at that end of the
But
court.
she doesn't want to throw to Lisa.
You know what I meant.
Yeah, what was that about lapses?
Play.
Well, they double team on Tolanair, and
Manage
quite
contact,
obviously
centre.
she's got the height. They want to shut her out.
Pass or shot. Goal defender. Push. Goal
That
I
one
think
was
these
gonna-
double headers are pretty hard on commentators, don't you?
Oh, phew. Their players have got it easy.
Ingrid Dick the restart with 10.5 to play. The first round of the MOBIL League for 96 going pretty much with form. The 2 Adelaide sides getting up. The defending champions winning. And Melbourne, who are runners-up in 95, also first-up winners.
Liso picking up some handy steals for Queensland. Created that last turnover. Tolanair, better movement then. The last passage, she really offered little to the ball. She was just fading off. Only in glimpses for Queensland. A lot of work to be done for their next round of matches.
Gorringe works a 1-2 with Van der Waal, picks up Tolanair. Now Van der Waal again. It's going back to something we were talking about earlier, and in the position of defenders in the Australian team, with Michelle Dendecker out of the picture now, and Liz Ellis pretty much standing unchallenged. There is that one defensive spot up for grabs, and Kath Harvey or Sarah Sutter would have fancied their chances of filling that position and would certainly have first call on it. But watching Taverner and Lynch play, I mean, what's the process by which they win their way in? I mean, the national team is not selected for a little while yet.
Well, I think Taverner really just has to keep stepping out on court with the same performances. She's really putting it out to Australian selectors. I mean, she has everything you need. She's versatile. She covers both positions, both circle positions well, and she'd be useful on the wing if needed. But certainly the circle they're looking for. She's got elevation, speed. Her combination with any number of players is great. I think she's got all the goods. Just trying to weigh up her height with Kath Harvey. She's probably got a little bit on Kath Harvey, which is to her advantage. Sutter, of course, is more goalkeeper position, so she sits really trying to weigh up against Lizzie Ellis, whereas Taverner has the use of being a front player.
Has to be said, Harvey and Sutter both played very well in the contacts win over Sydney Synovus. They'll keep each other honest through this series as we move towards the 4 tests. 1 against South Africa, 3 against New Zealand. Bryant. Just a minute to go. Southby seeing if she can nudge Melbourne Puma up to 70. And your percentages don't hurt. Something to keep in mind if they end up on even points with the other semi-finalists, and the way they've played today, you'd have to tip Melbourne to maybe get there. And your for and against does become important. Bryant gets them to the 70. And Norma can afford a smile now. Nola Calden, the umpire, sitting nearby. She's already had her turn on court with the earlier match.
Wing area. Baseline. Baseline. Play. Contact centre penalty.
Time enough just for another goal as the timekeeper moves over towards Annette Smith. A miss. Southby, can she get it up in time? She can. That's enough. Queensland have had enough. Quite a hammering they've taken from this fine Melbourne Puma outfit, who started like they mean business in '96, runners up in '95, and immediately on track as the MOBIL League season begins again, and winners 71-32. And their captain has got to be happy as she talks to Anne Sargent.
Thanks, Steve. Well, Simone's all smiles. The Melbourne crowd coming to see a good performance. You didn't disappoint them. It looked like it was easy out there.
Well, it wasn't easy, but we certainly had a great start to the match, and I'm really pleased with our first match up that it was such a good win for us.
Well, you've got a couple of injuries on the bench. You can hardly miss them. They're sucking on lollipops and the works. I don't know whether that's part of the rehab. Were you daunted at all by reshuffling the line?
No, because I think we've always had strength in the squad. I mean, when you look at the backup defender was Rosalie Jenkins, there's so much experience and she's such a strong competitor. And that's the same all the way throughout the squad. Anywhere, any position on the court, anybody could come on and do the job well.
Well, fill us in on those injuries. How long will we have to await their return?
Well, both Susan Howe and Janine Lynch look like perhaps not being here. Maybe the last couple of weeks of Super League they'd be back on court. But I mean, it's going to have to see how the rehabilitation goes, and it's up to them. Hopefully they're able to get back in court and be a part of our Super League series.
Melbourne Puma was just a well-oiled machine tonight, and I know you enjoyed the performance. If you're looking for one step better than runner-up, where's it going to come from?
Well, I think, certainly tonight was a great match. I think we started to get a little bit sloppy throughout the game, and I think to go that next step, we really have to cut out all the errors in our game and really keep that down to a minimum. And I think, we're there to go that next step and be MOBIL League premiers.
All 8 teams have now played a match, and so here's how the table looks at the end of round 1. Both the Adelaide sides, Garble and Contacts, are first-round winners, along with Sydney Energy and Melbourne Puma, who actually head up the table. Looking for points in their next matches will be Sydney St Ovus, the Institute of Sport, Fremantle and Queensland. Round 2 will be played at the Launceston Silverdome, and on Saturday our 2 matches will be the Queensland Mac Attacks against the Fremantle Pumas, then a crunch match between 2 of the key contenders, Melbourne Puma tackling Adelaide Garble. A quick recap of our competition, and here are the...